Thank the gentlelady. All right, we're going to proceed with a second round. I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Assistant Secretary Egorin, on April 5th, HHS provided a response to inquiry about stating that in calendar year 2021 to 2023, HHS made contact with either an unaccompanied child, a sponsor, or both in 308,833 households. HHS noted that in 66,622 households, HHS was unable to make contact with both the sponsor and the UAC. However, not included in HHS's production was the number and safety and well-being calls in which HHS was unable to make contact with the UAC themselves. As the New York Times previously reported in February 2023, HHS was unable to contact through safety and well-being calls 85,000 UACs. More than a year later, that number is likely far higher today. Will you commit to provide information about when we're going to receive by the end of the week? The number, the total number of UACs with whom you have lost contact.
Congressman, I want to first, reiterate our commitment to making sure that when children are placed with a sponsor, that they have, services available to them. Unfortunately, as you saw in our president's budget proposal, we are limited in our statutory authorities as well as our funding for post-release services. What I can commit to you today is to come back to you with an estimate and to continue to work with your staff regarding when we can have information available.
The information that HHS provided on April 5th was not current through 2024 and only captured calendar years 2021 to 2023. Will you also commit to providing this information through the present date as the subpoena compels you to?
Congressman, we will continue to work with your staff and can see what data are available and continue to work through an accommodation process.
All right, well, let's shift a little to criminal aliens case files. In response to the committee's February 20, 2024 subpoena that compelled the production of case file materials for several criminal alien UACs that were released from HHS custody during the Biden administration, HHS has produced 2,476 pages. However, the materials produced were replete with redactions, even though the case file materials are not classified or subject to any applicable privilege. Would you agree?
Congressman, we've made over 3,600 pages available for in-camera review, and we at the department take our obligation to protect these children's personal health and personal identifiable information seriously.
Why did HHS provide the committee with case files that contained redactions when those redactions were not contained in the case files committee staff initially viewed in camera?
Congressman, as we discussed when I was before the committee the last time, we will continue to make sure that we work through individual redactions, and my understanding is we have worked with your team to lift specific redactions and prioritize specific pages. In terms of the differences, it had to do with how the accommodation process and how the committee staff had released information previously without letting us know that that information that did have sensitive information would be released publicly.
Will you provide the committee the documents governing HHS redactions and how they're applied?
Congressman, redactions are applied to protect the personal identifiable and personal health information. We are happy to continue to have conversations around specific redactions.
Do you have guidance? Do you have guidelines for redactions?
Congressman,
Yes or no?
Congressman, we continue to...
I'd like a yes or no on that one. Do you have internal guidelines on redactions?
Congressman, we look at the individual material and redact to make sure that we are protecting personal health information and personally identifiable information of the children in our care.
Where does that come from? Does that come from guidelines or does that come from something you made up yourself?
Congressman, as you know, there is a constellation of factors that can be used to identify any individual. We are all at risk of that. So we look at documents to make sure
you do understand Congress is not under the Privacy Act, correct?
Congressman, we take our obligations for the personal health information and personal identifiable information very seriously.
Well, apparently not serious enough to follow a subpoena from Congress.
Congressman, it's
So
my
I'm gonna-
understanding for the subpoena that we have been incredibly responsive. We have answered follow-up questions.
You know
We have
that's not
addressed-
accurate. I'm going to yield to the gentleman from